Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Доброе утро, konnichiwa. Sorry you have to hear me yet again, but I'm just swapping with Sarvatma Prabhu because we all have busy weekends. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodananda Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Brihvajakacharya Astotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Brihvajakacharya Astotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Krishna. I'm just going to silence this thing. There's too much distraction here. Boom. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 5th canto, chapter 6, text number 16. Itihasma sakala veda lokadeva brahmana gavam parama gurur bhagavata rishabhakyasya vishuddha charitam iritam pumsam samasta duscharita pirananam paramamaha mangalayanam idam anushadayo pachitaya anusritinot ashravayati vavahito bhagavati tasmin vasudeva ekantato bhaktir anayur api Samanuvartate. Word for word translation says, Iti, thus, Hasma, indeed, Sakala, all, Veda, of knowledge, Loka, of people in general, Deva, of the demigods, Brahmana, of the Brahmanas, Gavam, of the cows, Parama, the supreme, Gurur, master, Bhagavata, of the supreme personality of Godhead, Rshabhadeva, whose name was Lord Rshabhadeva. Vishuddha, pure. Acharitam, activities. Iritam, now explained. Pumsam, of every living entity. Samasta, all. Duscharita, sinful activities. Abhiharanam, destroying. Abhiharanam, wow, it's a cool word. Parama, foremost. Maha, great. Mangala, of auspiciousness, ayanam, the shelter, idam, this, anushradaya, with faith, upachitaya, increasing, anushrinoti, hears from the authority, ashravayati, speaks to others, or avahitaha, being attentive, bhagavati, the supreme personality of Godhead, tasmin, unto him, vasudeve, to Lord Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, Eka antataha, unflinching, bhakti, devotion, anayo, of both groups, the listeners and the speakers, api, certainly, samanuvartate, factually begins. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shukadeva Goswami continued, Lord Rshabhadeva is the master of all Vedic knowledge, human beings, demigods, cows, and brahmanas. I have already explained his pure transcendental activities, which will vanquish the sinful activities of all living entities. This narration of Lord Rshabhadeva's pastimes is the reservoir of all auspicious things. Whoever attentively hears or speaks of them, following in the footsteps of the acharyas, will certainly attain unalloyed devotional service at the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, that's good news for us. Purport. The teachings of Lord Rshabhadeva are for the people of all yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and especially Kali Yuga. These instructions are so powerful that even in this age of Kali, One can attain perfection simply by explaining the instructions, following in the footsteps of the acharyas, or listening to the instructions with great attention. That's us. If one does so, one can attain the platform of pure devotional service to Lord Vasudeva. The pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees are recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam, so that those who recite these pastimes and listen to them will become purified. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. As a matter of principle, devotees should read, speak, and hear Srimad Bhagavatam persistently, 24 hours daily if possible. That is the recommendation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. One should either chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra or read Srimad Bhagavatam and thereby try to understand the characteristics and instructions of the Supreme Lord, who appeared as Lord Rshabhadeva, Lord Kapila, and Lord Krishna. In this way, one can become fully aware of the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. One who knows the transcendental nature of the Lord's birth and activities attains liberation from material bondage and returns to Godhead. Glorious. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Padaya Shri Mudali Disani Bhakti Bhakti Jai. So this verse just summarizes our whole thing, doesn't it? By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we are reminded again and again, hearing and chanting about Krishna, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, 24 hours daily if possible. For some, that is possible. So do it. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Sada means always. Just the other day, someone sent me a message. They're reading Bhagavad Gita, and they said, it's kind of repetitive, but I appreciate the clarification, how clearly the points are made. She's saying about Prabhupada's commentary. But, I explained that in the Vedic tradition, that is not a flaw, that is a feature, because we're a little thick-headed. Well, I shouldn't say we, some of us. Certainly myself, very thick-headed. And we need to hear things several times before it finally sinks in, Like if you're planting grass seed, you got to throw a lot of seeds out there, and some of them will grow. So that's why we hear repetitively, Kirtaniya Sada Hari, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. so that it'll finally click. And Srila Prabhupada has made it so easy for us, actually. He's made it so easy by giving us our regimented hearing and chanting program, the daily program of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam each morning. It's getting us to that platform of Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya and Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Prabhupada was able to enact that upon all of us. Nowadays, people, they take courses and they read books all about how to develop powerful habits because they know, small endeavors in one direction will bring about big results further down the line. But Prabhupada was able to get us all into the habit of hearing and chanting all day. That is the potency of his purports, of his personality, of his movement. And it's appreciated even by modern young people. Like I said, this woman said, it's repetitive, but I appreciate the point. So let's take advantage of what Srila Prabhupada's offering, summarized quite clearly in this verse. We simply hear and chant about the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all auspiciousness results. What does that mean, all auspiciousness results? It means our attachments to the material energy is destroyed. The reactions to so many sinful activities over many, many lifetimes just becomes annihilated. Like when a flood covers a land, all the seeds there, they cannot grow. So similarly, if we are flooded with hearing and chanting about Krishna's pastimes, then the seed of sinful desire cannot grow. The lust transforms into love. I'm going to recite a whole lot of verses about the glories of hearing Krishna. I hope that's okay. But beginning, we'll start from the top. Vikriditam Vrajavadu Biridam Cha Vishnu Sharanvatana Shunayadatavarna Yadya. What is the next line? Vikriditam Vrajavadu Biridam Cha Vishnu Sharanvatana Shunayadatavarna Yadya. Bhakti Param Bhagavati Pratilabhya Kaman Hridrogam Ashvapahinot Acharena Dhira. We have this kama, this roga. Hridrogam is like an infection in the heart, a heart disease called kama, lust, selfish desire, and vanity. But if we hear attentively with faith, sharanvita anashanaya, that means to hear from the parampara. Shraddha anvita anushanayat. Hearing with faith means hearing from the recognized source, the authorized describer of Srimad Bhagavatam and Lord Krishna. Hearing from the parampara means to hear with faith. And then the result is that that the selfish desire, the lust in the heart, the vanity is destroyed. And Bhakti Param Bhagavati Pratilabhya. The topmost expression of devotion is acquired, pratilabhya. You get it back. Of course, it's always there, just covered by illusion. We become uncovered by faithful hearing and chanting of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastime. Every once in a while, we should take stock of our progress and recognize that the medicine is working. The medicine does work. Sometimes we forget. I was just talking about this with Jiva Pandit the other day. We might forget just how miserable we used to be before coming in contact with Krishna and the devotees. How disturbed, how dissatisfied, depressed, frustrated, or angry we used to be. But now, having taken the medicine for many years, or at least for a few moments of real attentive chanting, we can see that the result is remarkable. And that gives us faith to continue towards the goal of pure devotional service. Let's not take for granted the amazing transformation that's happening in our heart, simply by hearing and chanting about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Srila Prabhupada repeats this, like in this purport. There's 1,000 purports just like this. But we shouldn't take for granted that that medicine is having a profound effect on our heart. That's why we need to hear this again and again and again. The transformation that has happened to many of us is absolutely remarkable. And that gives us faith that it can work, not just for us, but for anyone. So we hear and chant about these glorious pastimes of Lord Rshabhadeva, Lord Kapila Dev, and Lord Krishna, as described here. And in this way, one can become fully aware of the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by hearing and chanting. And by the Lord's mercy, He's so pleased by our attempt to understand with sincerity that He can reveal His personality. Right? Vedeshu durlabam, adurlabam, atma bhakta. What is that verse? My Kali Yuga brain is failing me again. But anyway, one who hears from the Vedas, hearing from the authoritative source, then it's very easy to understand Krishna's personality. But for someone who doesn't hear, what can they understand? And that we see all the time, people projecting their idea of what God must be, anthropomorphic projection, right? That's the accusation we hear all the time in our outreach programs from young and intelligent people. They have this idea, oh, you're projecting. You say God is like a person just because you're like a person. And surely that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of other traditions of the world, they project God must have all sorts of issues because I've got all sorts of issues. And anyway, if I were in the position of God, I would do like this and I would do like that. But no one could speculate. No one could imagine the incredible beauty, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. It's just simply beyond anyone's capacity to manufacture such incredible, intricate, detailed, selfless, loving exchanges. So we are saved from the danger of anthropomorphic projection because we have explicit description of the qualities and pastimes of the Lord, heard directly from the Vedas, from the authoritative sources. This is our method. This is our science. This is our medicine. And we have to be very, very confident in it. Ooh, Prabhupada was so confident that he said it over and over and over again. So we should similarly say it over and over and over again, chanting Krishna's names, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing these pastimes. And even if we are struggling with material desire, even if we are still bound, attached to so many material things, still that medicine can have such a profound effect and release us. Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akuto bayam yoginam nripanirnitam harer namanu kirtanam. We have to constantly chant so many verses in Bhagavatam. They're saying constantly, all the time, always. Constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord, following the ways of great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. If we have that confidence, then we'll hear every day. At least we should attend Srimad Bhagavatam class every morning. Because it's the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. What does that mean, for all? I thought it was only for qualified brahmanas and those who are pure of heart and those who are very special. Well, according to Shukadeva Goswami, it's actually for everybody, even those who have material desires, those who are free from material desires, those who want all types of enjoyment. It's still the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, is to constantly hear about the qualities and the holy name of the Lord, following the way of the great authorities. So If we have that confidence, then we'll constantly hear. We'll constantly try to chant Krishna's names, constantly try to hear about his wonderful qualities in the association of devotees, and share it with others. What more? What more can be said about hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna? How about a favorite verse? I'm just going to recite a bunch of slokas. I hope that's okay, because there's just so much to be said about hearing and chanting. We can hear so much about hearing and chanting. The gopis in Vrindavan, in their ecstasy, they sing such amazing song and glorification of the Lord. As we know from the Gopi Gita, their prose that they composed is profound and also lyrically clever, using the same consonants and vowels at the first and seventh syllable of each line. So they sing something really amazing. They say, Tava katam ritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kamashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatatam Bhuvigrinanti ye Buridajana. Everybody should learn this verse, because this verse somehow bested even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was apparently refusing to meet Maharaj Prataparudra. He put up a good fight, but somehow Maharaj Prataparudra was able to conquer him with ecstatic love by reciting this verse. This verse was spoken by the gopis, or sung by the gopis, of course, in their ecstasy. They say the nectar of your words, the description of your activities, are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. Tapta jivanam. Remember, tapas means like fire, burning. We're literally burning in this material world, right? There's been this drought, although it seems like there's been a little rain in the night. It's hot. The temperature is rising everywhere. Canada's on fire. We are literally tapta jivanam. Literally. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam. So we need that kata amrita. The nectar of the Lord's words, the description of his activities, is the amrita. It's the nectar. It's the juice. It can put out the fire. Nothing else is going to put out that fire, burning material existence. When are we going to have that faith? There's nothing else that's going to put out that fire that's burning in me because of contact with material energy. The gopis, they understand. So they say, Tava katamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapam. That these narrations are transmitted by learned sages, by the kavis. It's transmitted by them. You know, that's like the radio source. That's the streaming service. And it's always constantly streaming from the kavis, from the learned sages. You can always tune in and hear the Kata Amrita and Kalmasha Apanam. Kalmasha Apanam? Kalmasha Apaham. That it destroys all the kalmasha, all the nastiness, the sin, the bad karma that we've accrued, that baggage that we're carrying with us. That just hearing the narrations of the Lord and his name, form, qualities, and pastimes is sufficient to destroy all of that stuff. That we can practically see. We can practically see in our lives how our inclination towards sinful activity is almost completely eradicated by association with devotees, by regular hearing and chanting. So we should have faith that this medicine, it works. We do not need to practice all sorts of extraneous austerity. We do not need to counter the reactions of bad karma with good karma. We don't need to do all sorts of ritual. We need to take the medicine given by Dr. Prabhupada. And that's enough to counter all of the reactions of one's sinful activities, all of one's bad karma. That bad karma is manifested in our distress. If we experience distress, anxiety, frustration, This is the result of karma still gradually being destroyed. So we should know the most effective way to deal with all of that is to drown in the ocean of the nectar of Krishna's katha, description of his activities in his own words. So Shravana Mangalam Shrimaratatam. There's nothing more auspicious than hearing about Lord Rshabhadeva's pastimes, about Lord Kapiladev's pastimes, Lord Krishna's pastimes. It's broadcast all over the world and filled with spiritual power. Srimad Atatam means everywhere. That's the part that we need to work on. That if it's so beneficial, if we've experienced the result, the benefit of hearing and chanting of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes, then you must pass it on to someone. And then that kata amrita, it increases in quantity and in quality. Anything that we have that's material, if you give it to someone else, then you don't have anymore. If you take from someone else, then they don't have it anymore. But the Krishna Katha, the more it's distributed, the more it increases. It's an unlimited resource. The only thing that can match our unlimited desire for enjoyment is the unlimited resource of Krishna Katha. There is not enough resources for everybody's greed, right? Isn't that famous quote popularly attributed to Gandhi? But I have my doubts. Might just be one of those Facebook Acharya things. But there's enough for everyone's need, not enough for everyone's greed. There is not enough resource in the whole universe to satisfy even a single jiva. Because the more that one gets materially, the more one will be burning, desiring more. Dushparena analena cha, Krishna says about this kama, our selfish desire. It's like a fire that's always burning, it's never satisfied. We'll consume the whole universe before we find recourse or satisfaction. The only thing that fulfills our unlimited desire is the unlimited resource of Krishna Katha. So we should broadcast it all over the world. That's what the gopis say. Shravana Mangalam Srimad Atatam. Bhuvi Granantiye Buddhidharjana. And certainly someone who does that, who makes an effort to travel the world, to spread the Katamrita, is very dear. Most Buddhidha, most beneficial person. So let's not be misers, if you got something good, you should give it out. Give it to somebody else. Don't hide it. And people do love to receive. They love to receive. The nice thing about America is that you can just kind of preach about God. In other countries, more atheistic countries, you have to tiptoe around the issue. You don't say the G word so much. But in America, you can just, be much more straight up. And so, let's all try to find ways to share that Tava Katamritam and fulfill their prophecy that it's Shravana Mangalam, very auspicious everywhere to hear. Srimad Atatam has great power spread all over the world. So this is our program again and again and again. Let's hear the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hear the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat. Thank you, by the way. Taraka Prabhu, I've been reading that Chaitanya Bhagavat that you gave me. Such wonderful, sweet pastimes, especially in the Lord's youth. Just like in Vrindavan, Krishna is not recognized as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all just see him as their son, or as their lover, or as their boyfriend. So similarly in Navadvip, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remains hidden in his youth. Most do not recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you read about that in Chaitanya Bhagavat. I had another verse I wanted to share with you. There's just so many sweet verses about Krishna's pastimes that, what was the one? Oh, that's right. I wanted to share that, of course, there are so many forms of the Lord that we meditate upon. In reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada was so clear that we should read Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second canto, third canto, all the way up to 10th canto, hearing about pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. And it's so important for us to hear about every avatar builds our faith and understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why in that verse I quoted earlier, Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Vrikriditam Vrajavadubir idam cha Vishnu. He's saying this is that same Vishnu, that same person I've been talking about. And all these different avatars, Rshabhadeva and Nrsimhadev and Vamanadev, this is that same Vishnu. But now he's dancing with the Brajavadu, the damsels of Vrindavan. And if you hear faithfully, attentively, then this can awaken pure devotion in your heart, destroy all of that selfishness. And so it is important for us to recognize that we hear all the different avatars of Lord Krishna, all the different manifestations, the forms of the Lord, all of their pastimes, and all of the great wisdom that is intuited by the devotees who interact with them, as we hear in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. But ultimately, our meditation should land upon meditating on Krishna in Vrindavan. And we're so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has made that so accessible and safe for us. Rupa Goswami, he says very clearly, Shamam eva param rupam puri madhupuri vara. He's telling us what we should meditate upon. What's the highest thing to contemplate? Vaya kaishorakam dhyayam adya eva parorasa. At least we should know what is the goal. Maybe we're not at the level of always contemplating Krishna, dancing with the gopis, but we should know what is the goal? What is the highest form of meditation? So Rupa Goswami says explicitly, the form of Shyama Sundara is the supreme form. The city of Mathura is the supreme abode. Lord Krishna's fresh youth should always be meditated upon. Vaya kaishorakam dhyayam. This is what we should always contemplate. Krishna's fresh youth, his kaishur pastimes. As we know, the pastimes as described by Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion as pastimes are generally in four categories. There's the Bala pastimes as a young boy, baby Krishna. Then there's the, I'm forgetting the term now. Who remembers from Nectar of Devotion? Bala? Wow, it's slipping my mind. Krishna Chaitanya. Anyway, the different stages of his apparent age, of course, has different qualities of pastimes. And the Kaishur pastimes, like Kishore, means like a young teenager, where he's Kumar. Thank you, Prabhu. The Bala pastimes, as a baby, Kumara pastimes as a very young boy, first taking the calves out to pasture, and the Kaishur pastimes as like a young teenager. It's of course when he performs the Adya Parorasa, the supreme mellow of conjugal love. It's in that form that Krishna enjoys his pastimes with the gopis. So Rupa Goswami makes very clear what we are ultimately meant to meditate upon. And as we continue to hear and chant, we'll become more qualified and naturally attracted. We don't need to rush it, but we'll become naturally attracted to hearing Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, they've paved the way so that it's very clear and safe for us to pursue and ultimately land upon the highest moods of devotional service. So that is what we're meant to meditate on. Vaya kaishurakam dhyayam. Rather than meditating on other young people and what they're doing, right? As we grow older, we might be lamenting, oh, if I had youth, to have youth again. We see all the young people doing things, being in the news, famous artists or performers or something. What's the point of meditating upon them and just agitating the mind? We meditate upon Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Radha Damodara. They're right there in the temple. They're on the altar. They're performing their pastimes. If by the grace of the Lord we could have the eyes to see, then we would be so fortunate. But that's what we're meant to contemplate all day. As you're going about service, around the home, around Gitanagari, contemplate, what is Krishna doing? Is Krishna enjoying this? Can I offer something to Krishna right now? If we're always thinking about how to please Krishna, then we get a glimpse into Brajavasi life. That's all they're doing. It's not really that complex. It's just profound. They're always contemplating, how can I do something for Krishna right now? How can I please Krishna at this moment? So we should meditate on what Sri Sri Radha Damodar are doing, how they're being served, how I can contribute service. That's our meditation, not just who's the latest, who's the latest victim of the news cycle, who's the latest person to be the cynosure of materialistic eyes, which celebrity has done this thing or that thing. All these celebrities, they all just wither and die. But Sri Sri Radha Damodar remain in perpetuity. So let's contemplate Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, always thinking about what they're doing at this moment. Like literally right now, 7:43, Sri Sri Radha Damodar just still being dressed, probably getting some jewelry put on. And soon they will, make their appearance in front of all their devotees. This is really nice to meditate on, to contemplate. Last verse I'm going to recite for today, and then I will stop talking. That we should know that the Lord, out of his kindness, has manifested his pastimes. It's out of his kindness and his mercy to his devotees. We're hearing in this chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, or these recent chapters about Lord Rshabhadeva. He gave so many wonderful instructions to his sons, instructions that we learn from also. It's out of his kindness especially that the Lord manifests in a form that is human-like. Actually, our form is Krishna-like, but he manifests in a way that we can really be attracted. Shukadeva Goswami says, Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham deham astita. It's out of mercy, kindness to his devotees, Anugrahaya bhaktanam, that he has this manusha deha, human-like form. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham deham astita, tadrishi bhajata krida yashutva tat paro bhavet. Because simply by hearing about these human-like pastimes, this is referring to Krishna and Vrindavan especially, one can become very attracted. That's why Krishna manifested his Leela within this material universe, on this earth planet. That's the purpose, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam. He doesn't have to. He's not like in need of more attention. He's not lacking in anything. It's only out of kindness that Krishna manifests his pastimes in Vrindavan. He brought the traveling roadshow from Goloka Vrindavan to Gokula Vrindavan because we're so attracted to hearing it. We're so attracted because that is our siddha, that is our swarupa, to be serving Krishna in Vrindavan. So when we hear about how Krishna's playing with the cowherd boys, stealing each other's lunch boxes, popping food into each other's mouths, how they're going out into the forest, blowing on their bugle horns and singing and dancing, complimenting each other's dancing. We're attracted to it because that is our swarupa, that is our form. We hear about Krishna playing with his mother, looking into her eyes as he drinks from her breast, taking the sweets that are offered from her, being dressed by Yashoda Mai, how she puts so many nice clothes and ornaments onto little Krishna's body. But then he runs out into the forest and he completes his outfit by taking pigments from the earth and rubbing them on his face, and feathers and sticks and things in his hair. Yashoda Mai dresses him very opulently, but then Krishna does the finishing touches with literal Vraj Raj, the dust of Vrindavan. We're attracted to hearing that because that is our Swarupa, that's our original form. And of course, Krishna is flirting with the gopis as he goes to the bank of the Jamuna after the gopis have performed their 30-day, was a 30-day vrata, the Katyayani vrata. They worshipped a form of Durga Devi, Katyayani, with the sole intention of getting Krishna as their husband. What was that verse? Katyayani Mahamaye Mahayoginyadishvari Nandagopa Sutam Devi Patime Kurute Namaha. They worship Katyayani during a very difficult austerity of just eating like plain boiled rice and mung beans with no spices or anything, and not decorating their bodies and bathing in the cold river. They perform this austerity, this worship of Katyayani, for the sole intention of getting Krishna as their husband. And Krishna reciprocated perfectly by coming to the bank of the Jamuna while they were doing their final celebratory bath. And of course, Krishna stole all of their clothes, and in this way sealed the deal to become their husband. So we're attracted to hearing that. We're attracted to hearing because that is our nature. So as out of Krishna's kindness, that he puts everything on display. So simply by hearing, we become attracted. Anugrahaya. We should know that Krishna is not like us. We want to do something because we want some attention, because we feel some insecurity, some lack. I need someone to pay attention to me. I need those likes on social media. Krishna is not suffering from that insecurity, but it's only out of kindness and compassion for his devotees that he manifests these pastimes, so that simply by hearing, we can be attracted and return to him. Yashutva tat paro bhavet. So, in conclusion, I mean, this verse and this purport is what we hear all the time from Srila Prabhupada. Hearing and chanting about Krishna's pastimes. That's how we become purified. That's how we awaken pure devotional service. But let's not take for granted, just because Prabhupada repeats it so many times. Let us take stock of the incredible effect that Srimad Bhagavatam has had on us, how it's purified our hearts, how it has the potential to purify others also, and lead us ultimately to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Damodar and awaken pure devotional service. It is no small thing. It is no trivial, insignificant thing, just because we hear it every other day. It is still just as glorious as the first time we hear. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam class, at least daily, if not more. We also have Chaitanya Charitamrita classes in the evenings, by the way, which I don't always attend because sometimes I'm working, but I try when I can. So remember, Tuesdays and Fridays at 7, Chaitanya Charitamrita class. If you just can't get enough, then tune in also. I know Ananya Bhakti is always there. Jagannath Pandit Prabhu is always there. So Hare Krishna, of course, if we're hearing about these things in the association of devotees, and it's even more sweet. It's even more fun, right? Didn't Lord Kapila Dev said that? I'm not going to try to remember the verse because my brain is already shot from so much Sanskrit. But you all know the one I'm talking about. Rasayanam kata, that the pleasure increases when we're hearing with other devotees. And then Krishna's pleasure increases too. And that's very important. Krishna's pleasure increases when we hear and chant together. That's what that means, Sankirtana. Because in Kali Yuga, especially, by definition, Kali Yuga, it's a little hard for us to come together. Sometimes, this Prabhu, that Prabhu. We're all upset about something a lot of the time. And that's why it's very pleasing to Krishna that we have as our priority to come together. Yes, thank you, Tarka. That we have as our priority, no matter what trivial conflicts are going on in the Kali Yuga. So what? It is the Kali Yuga after all. There's always misunderstanding and conflict. But if we come together anyway to hear and to chant, to serve Krishna together, despite whatever trivial thing is going on between us, then that's very pleasing to Krishna. So let us continue to do Srimad Bhagavatam class every day, or even more if possible. Thank you for listening. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone have any comments they'd like to add? Of course, I just kind of threw a whole bunch of verses glorifying hearing and chanting, but I hope you're a little more inspired. If anyone would like to add some of your favorite realizations about hearing and chanting, we would love to hear that from you. It's the real breakfast for the soul. Okay, then I guess everyone is fully satisfied. Thank you so much.
Wait.
Yes, Tarika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for another enlivening class. It's wonderful to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And I don't want the nectar to stop flowing. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this verse, and he says that actually in his translation, we'll start with the translation. He says that where are we here? Yeah, pure bhakti for Vasudeva will develop in the hearer, the chanter, the rememberer, or the enjoyer of these pastimes. Everybody is blessed with pure Krishna bhakti. And he comments that particularly this is valuable for the people of Kali Yuga. They can derive greater benefit by hearing and chanting the pastimes of Rshabhadeva. Whereas the yogis of other yugas derive benefit from practicing Rshabhadeva's system of yoga, or the system of Kapila Dev. But in Kali Yuga, simply hearing, chanting, remembering, enjoying the pastimes of Rshabhadeva, you are blessed to develop pure bhakti. That's pretty cool, right?
So cool. It's working. It's really working.
Yeah, it's easy. It's very easy. Trying to practice other systems of yoga is practically, in this age, it's just impossible. People try to do it, but they have no idea what they're doing. They're wasting their time. They cannot be successful. But hearing Srimad Bhagavatam it's not just easy, it's recreation, it's just simply enjoyable. We have a natural, innate tendency to enjoy all kinds of things. We want to hear stories. People want to see a movie or read a book and hear about this or that, some relishable activity. And Srimad Bhagavatam is chock full of wonderful relishable stories, supremely relishable in a way that is incomparable. It's way beyond the best stories, best mundane stories. Um, there's no end to the extent to which you can relish. It just never ends, never gets old. You can hear the same story over and over again, and it gets better every time you hear it. Or you hear it, the better it gets. So it's a wonderful process. It's an extraordinary boon. Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. It's a terrible time, but it's the most wonderful time for this one fact that we have the process of Sankirtan and hearing and chanting, remembering and enjoying of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a wonderful thing. So we're pretty specially blessed. It's and it's such a rare opportunity. It's so rare. We have opportunity to hear from Krishna's pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada took great pains to record his words for us. From the very beginning, Srila Prabhupada came to the United States with, practically he had nothing. He had 8 rupees, which you can't even exchange for U.S. currency. It's against the law. So he actually had nothing. He came with nothing. And but when he was disembarking the Jaladuta and saying his final goodbye to the captain, he sold a set of Bhagavatams to the captain, who gave him $20. And with that $20, he was able to sustain himself week after week. And you read his diary, he accounts for every last penny. He was very careful in his accounting. But now I can't remember my point. And I did have a point, but it's eluding me now. Anyway,
great pains.
Oh, my point was that although he had practically no Lakshmi, he did invest in a tape recorder, which was kind of an expensive item, in those days. Very expensive. But he saved money to acquire a tape recorder, big reel-to-reel affair, and carefully recorded all of his talks, for the benefit of his disciples and posterity, for everyone. And we still have those recordings, and they're wonderful. So much opportunity to hear. Very, very nice. We should take advantage. We should take full advantage, because it's a really rare opportunity to get the Association of Krishna's Pure Devotee to have the opportunity to hear. The Prabhupada describes it. It's like it is so rare. It is like somewhere on the vast Pacific Ocean, which is incredibly vast. It's so vast, it's inconceivable. Somewhere floating in that ocean, there is a plank of wood with a knot hole in it. And somewhere in that ocean, there is a swimming. And somehow or other, that turtle rises to the surface for air, and his head just happens to pass through the knot hole in that piece of wood. How, what are the chances? And to take birth, somewhere, and have the opportunity to hear from a pure devotee is that rare. It's an incredibly rare opportunity. So we have the opportunity, we should take full advantage, because who knows when we'll have that kind of rare opportunity again. And so beneficial. The greatest benefit possible can be had. What fool would not want to take advantage of such an incredible opportunity? So we're out of time, but Srimad Bhagavatam, very wonderful. Thanks again, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Tarako Prabhu. We always love your enthusiasm, and you're setting such a good example for us by always hearing and chanting, always being present in Bhagavatam classes. So thank you. Well, now we have darshan of Sri Shivada Damodar, so let's concentrate on that. Thank you, devotees. Krantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Haribol.